Well, let's talk about this. I got to get into this before it gets to this Harry Reid thing, because it's too beautiful. And this is really something for two parts. Part one is just the beauty, how easy it is, how the standards of what a right-wing conspiracy, and not even a conspiracy, because look, conspiracy theorists come in all shapes and sizes and all ideologies, but Harry Reid injures himself in basically a freak accident on some exercise gear. It was working on one of those like rubber band things, and it slipped. He didn't put it on properly, fell back, and he got really banged up. Like more banged up than if that happened to me or to Matt or to Michael. But one thing I know in just aging is that I get bruised easier than I did when I was in my 20s. Here's a guy in his 70s, okay? And watching my grandmother age before she passed on, she would look like someone beat her up if she fell. But apparently, these right-wingers, they're not aware of that. So they came up with these theories. He had been roughed up by some mafia guys. And that's why he's not running for re-election, because they came to him on New Year's Day and said, we're going to rough you up. We're going to beat you up, Harry Reid. Forget about your protection that you have of the Secret Service.
They walk up to why don't you Secret Service guys take a walk?
Yes, time for you to go play some craps.
Go get a cannoli for yourself, gentlemen. We got to talk
That's right.
to your boss.
We're going to talk to Harry Reid. Remember, Harry Reid, as a prosecutor, actually not only busted the mafia, but he approached him with a bribe, and then he wore a wire. So he aggressively busted these people. So then the big explanation for what really happened to Harry Reid was that his brother or brother-in-law on New Year's Day came over and beat him up. He was drunk. His brother came in and said to his Secret Service, "Hey guys, hit the craps there."
Hey, go play some blackjack. It's family business. I gotta go beat the Senate Minority Leader to a friggin'
So this
pulp.
was all over the right-wing media. This guy, John Hinderaker or Racker at Powerline or whatever it is, reports it. He says, "I don't know if this is true, but this is the story." And then it goes to like Rush
And then
Limbaugh's
some guy
media.
on the street came up to Harry Reid.
Hold on. It goes to right-wing media. It goes on and on and on. And it just gets played in the echo chamber. Well, this weekend, a man named Larry Pfeiffer, he's a 50-year-old former consultant in the nightclub and entertainment industry, said he fabricated the whole story of Harry Reid's brother-in-law beating him up after reading that this John Hinderaker published a rumor that Reid's injuries stemmed from the assault on by a mafia enforcer. So he said he completely concocted the story that Reid's brother, Larry, showed up intoxicated at an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting on New Year's Eve in Henderson and claimed to have beaten up a relative. Pfeiffer said the media figures who published and broadcast the rumor did so without corroboration and without knowing his true identity. He revealed to them that he was using a pseudonym, he said, yet none demanded proof of his true identity. It actually got Pfeiffer on a conservative talk show He was brought on to Laura Ingram's radio show when Hinderaker was a guest host. And then Rush Limbaugh's people called Pfeiffer, decided not to have him on, and Limbaugh just monologued it about it. Pfeiffer said he peppered it with false information that should have been seen as red flags, including that AA allows intoxicated individuals to attend meetings on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. He said, I want to apologize to Harry Reid and his brother. What I did was effed up. The guy felt so bad because he never thought, it never occurred to him, how could it possibly go this far? And that is because he underestimated just how fraudulent these right-wing bloggers and news people are. So Talking Points memo interviews John Hinderaker. This is the guy who first published the story and also filled in for Laura Ingram and had that Las Vegas resident Larry Pfeiffer on his show. And apparently Pfeiffer used an alias, and he said, my name is Easton Ellis or something, and told Hinderaker this story. Hinderaker just ran with it. And here's the interview with Hinderaker, which is just hilarious. Remember, this story goes from the Powerline blog to Laura Ingram's radio show, gets picked up by Breitbart.com, gets mentioned and repeated by Rush Limbaugh. It gets reprinted in WorldNet Daily with their headline, Was Harry Reid Really Pummeled by a Relative? That's the way they do this. It's always a question mark. So on Sunday, Hinderaker acknowledged to his readers that Pfeiffer recanted the story. He recanted it. And the headline, you ready for this? This is the headline that acknowledges that the story was completely made up. Quote, what really happened to Harry Reid? Question mark. Part 5, in parens, updated. That's the headline of the story that says, everything through parts 1 through 4 and 5, except for this update, is completely based on a lie. I was hoodwinked. So here's the exchange between the reporter from Talking Points memo and Hinderaker. Well, this is abridged. You should check out. We'll put a link into the... You write that you checked Pfeiffer out, quote, to the extent reasonably possible. How did you vet him? Hinderaker, basically online. As I said in my post, I spent a lot of time with the guy on the telephone. And, he was consistent and seemingly sincere. I checked him out online. He didn't come up in any negative way under either of those names. Obviously, having two names is odd. But as I wrote in the post, just Googling Easton Elliott and Lawrence Pfeiffer turned up information that tended to confirm how he described himself. He goes on. This is where it is. Do you regret circulating Pfeiffer's story? Is this the best way this story should be unraveled if you want there to be an investigation? Because he wants there to be an investigation into Harry Reid's injuries. Because that would serve the public by, well, who knows? He goes, well, I don't regret the approach. Obviously, if I had known the guy was a liar, I would not have given him the forum to tell a story. I spent a lot of time talking to Easton/Lawrence. Now remember, the guy is aware that he's been given a fake name the first time. So then when the real name is there, he's like, oh, this got to be true then. And I thought about questions like, quote, could he be somebody who's being put up to it by the Reid camp? And that seemed highly unlikely. Question, but this guy didn't really have any corroboration for his story, did he? I mean, he told you he did, but that was a lie. Right. Exactly. Laughs. So in other words, the corroboration this guy Hinderaker sought was just that the guy said it was true. Question. So next time, would you actually seek out the evidence? I mean, obviously, once burned, twice shy. Would I wonder if some crackpot is calling me on the phone? Absolutely. You bet I would. Just to go back to corroboration for a moment, one thing I said repeatedly is, I don't vouch for this story. I don't know if it's true. Can you imagine what that would prevent you from writing if you added that to everything? Like I could say, John Hinderaker is spends his time in the backyard doing obscene things to furry little animals. Now, I don't vouch for that story. And I don't know if it's true. Now, obviously, that wouldn't be appropriate, right? Because if I can't vouch for the story and I don't know that it's true, then it might as well not be true. It's completely made up. And in this case, it's completely fabricated. To my knowledge, that's not true. He wouldn't even go that far. So the questioner, yeah, that's true, but you were the conduit through which this story got on national radio. That's right. If I had reason to think it wasn't true, I wouldn't have given him the platform. That's absolutely correct. And so the question is, now talking about Reid again, why is this story significant to you? Hinderaker says, one wonders, why did he lie about it? Speaking of Reid. Question, but at this point, there's no evidence that he lied about it. No, I disagree with that. The evidence is, number one, the nature of the injuries. Number two is the change in the story. Question, do you think that is evidence of a lie or evidence of a clarification, this changing from the exercise band breaking to slipping? Well, I don't know for a fact that he's lying. By the way, I never said that. So Hinderaker says 3 answers earlier. One wonders, why did he, speaking of Reid, lie about it? And then 2 answers later says, by the way, I never said that he's lying. You've also published that he's sustained this injury from a mafia enforcer. Is that correct? Well, I noted a fact that in Las Vegas, that is a rumor that's going around. And somebody should investigate and get to the bottom of it. You've just had an opportunity to look into the mind of a guy who is a powerful enough right-wing commentator and blogger to fill in a national radio show. One of the biggest national right-wing radio shows in the country. They're demented. They are demented. 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 There's no other word for it. And hilarious.